regret that you did that?
Oh, so sad. What we're seeing ahead is septic tanks. Septic tanks just submerged in the water. So that is human waste flowing into the water right now from those septic tanks that have been unearthed. You can see a propane tank dangling there. I'm stepping over tons of debris. You can see it just goes on and on and on and on. Eerie to see in person, and just so many homes are next. A fridge just ripped apart by the sea. I smell chemicals right now. There's a really strong scent of gasoline or propane or something. When you should be smelling, salt water, it just, it smells like gasoline. Oh, it's really strong right here. Yeah, it's still going. AC units. So many metals, parts, and plastics. I'm talking to a researcher today about what it all means for the environment here.
Oh boy! We got it.
So we got to talk about something big. There is houses collapsing in Outer Banks at a rate that is alarming. And it is shocking that they are allowing this to happen and that it's happening to begin with. Let's talk about it. Some of these pictures and these videos are absolutely baffling. And then the pollution that is going in to the water, seems like the local officials have done nothing to prevent this. So I want to know your comments down below, good, bad, ugly on this, that this has been going on for years. These houses have been sitting there vacant and the local authorities knew these things were going to collapse. Most of them vacant, condemned, and they're sitting there full of freon, asbestos, nails, wood, roofing shingles, all the debris they knew was going to go into the water. And these are the same places where you take a sea oat and they'll put you in prison, okay? These are the same places that they banned straws for the sea turtle, okay? But yet they'll let an entire house, air conditioning units, sewage, septic tanks just go right into the ocean. Let me tell you, hurricanes and natural disasters like this they probably make most of the debris and the garbage and the pollution in our local Gulf areas here. I live on the Gulf Coast and I see this all the time. Most of our garbage out there in the ocean came from hurricanes, came from things like this collapsing. They knew that this object you put on the coastline will one day end up in the ocean. And nobody seems to do anything about this. The politicians, they hem-haw around and they drag the permits out to move them, or they give no incentive to get rid of these properties. Or how about you just don't allow them to build there in the first place? I know why. Property taxes. It's like, you can't make some of this stuff up. I know I'm being hard on this, but it breaks my heart as somebody that loves the water, the Gulf Coast, the areas that are beautiful with the fish and the birds and the manatees and the dolphins, and you're having to swim around roofing shingles, roofing nails. Let me ask you a question. When you're walking down that shoreline in the next 30 years and you step on a roofing nail, you earned that one because you let these politicians do this. that infuriates me.
For this video from last year, houses in the Outer Banks collapsing into the ocean, this is specifically in Rodanthe on Hatteras Island, and these houses have been collapsing for the last few years. Dare County officials have told us most of these homes are not occupied year-round. They're rental and vacation rental homes. Cape Hatteras National Seashore officials say these oceanfront homes that once had backyard space, dunes, and dry sand separating them from the ocean are now partially or fully covered with ocean water on a regular basis. So why is this happening? Well, it's a combination of reasons. Coastal erosion made worse by rising seas and storms, plus increased swell size from the weather. With a couple homes left in the same area, another collapse is a concern with Hurricane Erin bringing tropical storm like.
Right now, you can go out and walk in our bay, our bayous out here, and you will see like random things just sticking up out of the sand that we knew was going to wind up in the bayou next hurricane. But yet the politicians be like, I'll let you build there. Just pay your permit. Just pay your municipal permit. We'll let you put a septic tank there, and we know it's going to bubble up and go into the bayou anyways. Or we'll build a sewer system there that we know the seawater is just going to wash it all out there in the bayou and in the Gulf. You can go to the local estuary here, and you will see so many cigarette butts floating by because they all wind up on these little islands out there. But nobody will ban cigarettes on the beach. I know I'm being hard on that one, but that's one of my biggest pet peeves because there are so many chemicals in a cigarette butt. And you see somebody drive down the road, flick a cigarette butt. They know it's going to go in the storm drain and right into the bayou, but we still do those. There's many things like that I just don't understand. Comments down below. I want to know your thoughts. I know you're going to hate on me about the cigarette butts thing, but it's true. They winds up in the bayou, and especially when you go after a rainstorm, you will see the froth line and everything go by in the bayou or in the bay as it's going out to the Gulf from the neighborhoods, from all the roadways and all the engine oil and the freon and the hydraulic fluid, all that stuff and everything in these houses winds up out there in the Gulf. And it is beyond me that we keep doing this. And they knew these things were going to collapse. They've sat there for years. All they had to do was go out there with a bulldozer, knock them down, and just, hey, we're going to write this one off, and we're not going to allow anybody to build there anymore. Or you build the owner. I feel very bad for the owners and the people that have lived in these houses for many, many years. Hurts my heart to watch them go down. But the fact we knew they were going to go down, we left them. They stood out there for many years. The politicians saw them standing out there, and they will get mad at me for catching one too many redfish, okay? But yet they'll allow this to collapse into the Gulf or into the Atlantic Ocean. We deal with the same thing here on the Gulf Coast, so I say the Gulf Coast a lot, the Gulf. It infuriates me because I was surfing not too long ago and I fell off a wave and I hit my foot on some debris underneath the water from this. And it almost broke my foot and I had to swim in one-armed because of this. I don't know why they didn't do something about this. And they're going to say, well, you know, permits, funding, money, ... Come on. You could have took a day when it was on a tide that was out. You could have lassoed that thing with a bulldozer, knocked it down, and we're just going to take this one on the chin, and we're going to call code enforcement, and they're going to find the owner, or they're going to tear it down. We're going to get the owner to tear it down. Look, one of my friends got a $20,000 fine for not removing the debris of his old house off of his property, and that was just a little house in the hood. okay? And you're telling me you can't force these owners to tear this thing down because it's condemned before it goes in the ocean? Why not fine them for an environmental problem or environmental fine for that thing winding up in the ocean? Or you just go to them and say, hey guys, 3 years, this thing's going to be in the ocean. If it winds up in the ocean, we're fining you with a federal fine for polluting the entire estuary, okay, or the entire national seashore with your shingles and your freon from your AC units and your asbestos and all these things. Or you tear it down beforehand. How about that? You know, you can't make this stuff up. What are your thoughts? Comment down below.
In the Outer Banks, the coastline has been inching closer and closer to the road, and the ocean is swallowing some beachfront homes. 9 homes have collapsed into the Atlantic in just the last week or so. But what may surprise you is that this risk is not deterring buyers.
Wow. All right. So real estate agent for Serhant in Kill Devil Hills, North Carolina, Kristen Shackelford joins us now. Thanks for being with us this morning. I was a little surprised to hear, but people are still drawn to some of these oceanfront properties despite the risk. What's going on?
They absolutely are. So it's kind of funny. We've seen a stronger buyer demand this year than even last year.
Wow.
And what do you think the reason for that is? Are these homes that they're purchasing right up against the waterfront that could be the next to collapse? And they're thinking, well, let me just enjoy a beachfront property while I have it for 5 years. Or is there some other element at play?
I don't think it's that really at all. We very rarely are seeing these condemned homes come up for sale. We're just seeing an increasingly strong Outer Banks market. And I think that just kind of goes to some of the notoriety we're getting. But usually once most of these homes are sold or condemned, they're not sold again.
Okay.
That makes sense. I've got a question for you, because when we look at these homes, man, it breaks your heart to see how many have been claimed by the waters. If you're a homeowner, you've lost your structure, but when you buy a piece of property, you also buy the lot of land that it comes on. So if you've lost your home, what happens to that lot of land? Do you know, is it part of the ocean now? Do you still own it?
So these homeowners actually still own the land until they get to the point where they're exhausted by taxes. And then if they want to deed it back to the national seashore, they can do that.
Oh.
Otherwise, that property is still theirs until they do something with it.
Wow.
Wow.
Very interesting.
Yeah, that is a really interesting thought. One thing that I think a lot of folks who are watching us in our coverage of homes collapsing, they're thinking, why are they not just preemptively bulldozing these condemned homes? We know it's just a matter of time. What is the reasoning behind that? Does it have something to do with insurance and you have to wait for the ocean to claim them?
That's exactly it. So homeowners in these areas are in a special flood hazard zone. And the problem is the bulk of them are only eligible for FEMA insurance coverage, which is going to cap out at that $250K dwelling mark. And then that means they're exposed to significant risk long before those insurance funds are even available.
Let's talk about
Bingo! That's exactly what it is as a real estate agent here, and I'm seeing this, and this is a complete farce, okay? We got an idea, guys. We're just all going to stand here and let this all fall into the Atlantic Ocean, into the water, before we do anything. We know what's going to happen. We know what's going to happen, but we're going to wait for insurance money. I mean, what are we doing here? The bureaucracy is so bad in these areas. These politicians are so bad. These insurance companies are so bad that they're just going to let these things go into the water. And who's going to clean up the debris? That insurance policy isn't going to help them clean up that debris. Those 2x4s will be in the Bahamas by the time any of this is ever cleaned up. But yeah, you will get mad at me for making a sandcastle that pollutes the shoreline or something, or letting my dog run on the sand. You will give me a ticket for my dog long before you'll give a ticket for an entire house washing into the water. Like, what are your thoughts on that? Are you with me or are you against me on this? Where is the federal government on this? Where's the park rangers? Where's the National Seashore people? Where's the Island Authority? Where is the government cronies, the congressmen that are saying, you know what, maybe we should have done something about this? Okay, there's an entire strip of houses that are about to go into the water. We're going to take them through eminent domain or however we're going to do it. We're going to preemptively bulldoze these things before they wind up in the water, because we're not going to do anything to the homeowners because they're probably the rich guys that are funding our campaign. We're just going to let them all collapse in there. I mean, I hate to be sour on this, but I'm sour on this. Like, why is this okay? We're worried about straws and turtles, but not houses and the doggone water.
insurance, because I imagine that has to go up for coverage. If you buy this home, is it I mean, can you easily find insurance to cover it?
So your options are pretty limited. You've got FEMA's flood insurance, and then you could always go private with something like Lloyd's of London if you're going to pay for the structure 10 times over by then.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. What would you say the average insurance rate is?
So that's a good question, and there's a lot of other good questions in that video that I want to try to clear up. So a little bit about my background. I live in the Outer Banks. I've been documenting these homes for about 7 years now. Also hold an insurance license, so I know the logistical nightmare side of the insurance industry when it comes to this circumstance. So I wanted to kind of give you an insight of what that is all about, as well as some other daunting challenges when it comes to these homes. Now, why are these homes falling in the ocean? Now, look, you're never going to convince anyone different, whatever your opinion or conclusion is. You know, there's always the climate change, ocean rising, all that. Me personally, I think is a little bit of everything, but the biggest thing that's a known factor here is that our island is moving. It's shifting. It's a barrier island and it's moving. The biggest evidence of this is we've literally had an island appear and disappear a couple years ago. An island that we named Shell Island emerged from the ocean right off of Hatteras, and it stayed there. I want to say just for a couple months. It might have been longer, and then it just disappeared back in the ocean.
We see this on the Gulf Coast all the time, appear, disappear. But you know what that says to politicians? Taxable land, okay? They're like, hey, we can tax this. We just got a whole island. And they allow people to build in places they shouldn't be building. Most of these islands should not have multiple $1-million houses on them. And they shouldn't definitely be luxury houses. They were just surf shacks. There was something out there that literally saw the storm coming. They were built out of concrete blocks. You pulled your lawn chair up, you took the TV off the wall, put your surfboard underneath the other arm, and you went walking out of there. And when the coast was clear, you came back, you put the surfboard back on the wall, you put the TV back on the wall, you hosed the floor out, and you were back beaching again. You didn't put $1-million houses on there. But you know what happens when you put $1-million houses on a piece of sand? You get to tax it. And that's what politicians like. They tax it. And then they're like, when it blows away, they're like, hey, insurance company, bail us out. We'll build back bigger and better. And then we build humongous condos on it. And it repeats. This is just baffling to me, the amount of debris and environmental just catastrophes that go on with this stuff. And it's just okay. Because tax, money, tourism. Meanwhile, the environment is just destroyed by this stuff. Go look at the oil shim on the water in some of these places now. And after these big parades on the beach, and the amount of junk that gets washed out into the ocean is baffling.
So, it's a known fact. There's no opinion there. It is a fact. Our island is moving, and so that area, Rodanthe and Buxton, is kind of getting the brunt of that shift, unfortunately. Now, let's just talk about the logistical nightmare it is about why aren't these houses being moved? Why aren't they being torn down before it falls into the ocean? First, let's talk about moving the house. So there has been some successful attempts of moving homes here. The most notorious one is the Knights of Rodanthe house. If you've ever read the Nicholas Sparks book, Knights of Rodanthe, or watched the movie, that house that's in that movie used to be just like those homes in that video. But the owners purchased an entirely different plot of land and paid to move the house to that new land. So when you're talking about moving a house, the owners of those houses have to purchase an entirely new land, if there's any land available to move in. And so that's an uphill battle. Now, why don't we demo the homes before they fall in the ocean if we know that eventually they're going to fall in? And that's a great question. And some of the reasons why it's hard to do so is, one, is it's hard to just destroy something that you don't particularly own, like the actual owner has to write off on it. Another thing that's really hard is that section is actually owned by the federal government. It's part of the Cape Hatteras National Seashore. So whenever you deal with federal stuff, that's a whole nother headache.
There was a house just down the street from my house the other day that was condemned. They tore that thing down in a day. and they had it in dumpsters with dump trucks leaving one after another after another. It took one bulldozer, one operator, and a couple of little grabbers, and they had that thing gone. I don't want to hear that you can't remove these things. It's bureaucracy if they tell you that you can't move them, okay? Yes, you can put them on a sled and pull them out of there and relocate the house somewhere else. But if it's been in that salt water for that long condemned, it's not worth anything. It's not even worth trying to fix. But if you want to collapse one, destroy one, break it up, put it on a truck, get it out of there, take a giant magnet, go across the sand and pick all those nails up, you can do that. But instead, just let them fall over. Just let them fall over and crumple, and we'll get it later, guys.
Now, another kicker is the insurance. So the insurance won't actually pay out until it actually falls in. And I think, do I agree with this? Absolutely not. And this is someone that holds a license in the insurance industry. I think it's a completely flawed system that, I really think that legislation needs to be passed to make a change for this, because this is only going to continue to happen here and in other places. Now, my solution, and maybe I'm missing something here, but my solution is when the town considers the home condemned, and most of these homes were already condemned for a long time, and usually the first step of that is when the septic system gets exposed or when structural damage to the home. Most of the time, the first thing that gets damaged is the stairs, and then the town says, hey, it's not safe to rent out or live in anymore, and they condemn it. At that point, they should be able to file that claim for the $250,000 and put towards, either use that $250,000 to buy another lot of land and to pay to move the house, or to use it to demo the home and pay for the demo cleanup. I don't really know. I might be missing something, but I don't understand why that would be so difficult. That would be my solution to this. But yeah, overall, it's a complete mess, and it's super sad, and it's an awful situation when homes fall in.
Put your comment down below how you would solve this problem, or how should you? Because politicians seem to have no idea. Maybe the comment section can show them how to do this. That we just don't let it collapse. We don't let insurance companies wait to pay out until after it collapses. Are we trying to protect the mortgage companies, or are we really trying to keep the insurance companies from going belly up? And why are we allowing things to be fixed and built there in the first place? I know, like here, they've gotten to where they just stopped building permits if it's within a parameter that we know it's going to get wet in the future. We're just not doing it. You either got to elevate it or you're not building. And then go in eminent domain these things. Just confiscate all the land, deed it back to the seashore, destroy it all, pay them out if you got to, but you can't let these things fall into the water. That's my opinion on these. I saw this going on all weekend, and I was like, I just got to make a video on this. We've just got to understand this is not the answer. There is a way around this. You can move the house. You can destroy the house, crush it, put it in dumpsters, take it away before there's nails all over the beach. There's asbestos and insulation all in the water, and that fiberglass is floating everywhere for you to swim in a little while later. Don't let these politicians get away with it. Don't let the rich get away with this. This is something that needs to be fixed. But that's all I got, everybody. If you're looking for an agent, a real estate agent anywhere in the country, my email is down below. I can help you find one. If you're wanting to buy real estate on the Gulf Coast of Florida, Alabama, I'd be happy to help you with that too. I happen to be a real estate agent here on the Gulf Coast. And I'll see you guys in the next video. This was a deep rabbit hole that made me really, really mad and hyper anxiety about this, okay? This was not one you could be happy-go-lucky with, because I just see a lot of bureaucracy and it makes me very angry. I'll see you guys in the next video. Don't forget to like and subscribe.